Welcome. I'm Julie Bacon, and you're listening to the Mindset Coaching for Handlers podcast, a podcast for dog handlers who are on a mission to achieve big goals. Here I share lessons, insights, personal stories, and tools you can apply during your next show, trial, or test to help you strengthen your mental game and hopefully cue more consistently. Be sure to check out the show notes where you'll find details about the episodes, plus important links, including the link to the Dogged Planner and Workbook created just for handlers on a mission. So if you're ready to improve your competitive mindset, get out of your own way, and connect with your dog like never before, then it's time to get comfy, bring an open mind, and work your mindset. Hey there, and welcome back to the podcast. Okay, this week's topic is proof that I take requests, okay? This one comes from a client and longtime listener, and it's about seminars and how we prep for seminars, how we get the most out of a seminar. And for some people, you might be scratching your head thinking like, how is this a mental game thing? Well, it really can be. Seminars can really mess with your mind. It certainly is a playground for comparison, so much so that in the very first season of this podcast, it's episode number 36, for those of you who like to do a deep dive, I called it Singing the Seminar Blues, and did a whole episode on kind of the ups and downs, the emotional ups and downs of a seminar. Because one minute you think you and your dog are freaking geniuses and you're so smart and your dog's so great and your training has been so on par, and then you go out for the next sequence and you get stuck at 2. You can't make it past, and you look at everybody else and everybody else's dog is being perfect and you're not, and suddenly you're like wanting to cry in your car, right? Can be a roller coaster. A seminar can be a roller coaster, and you wouldn't think so, because you go with this like, I don't know, at least I do. I go with this like wide-eyed, can't wait, please teach me all the things kind of like thing, outlook. And sometimes that's how it goes down. And sometimes you're like, oh my God, I've done nothing with my life or my dog, or I should just crawl back in a hole or whatever. So it can be all the emotions like all day or within a half a day. It really can be a lot. So I'm not going to rehash that story. Please go do a deep dive, listen to episode 36, which is go back from November 2021, and listen to that the Singing the Seminar Blues podcast. For this one, I want to talk about how we get the most out of seminars and how we do keep our mindset in the right frame so that we can get the most out of a seminar, and we can show up as our best selves. We can learn the most that we can learn, and then also get the most out of it afterwards, because I don't know, it's just a waste of a good journal if you're taking all the notes and then you never do anything with the notes. And I know a lot of us are guilty of that. And I have been, for sure. I have an old notebook that I'm just convinced I'll go back to one day. I never have, and not that there's not brilliant things in there, but just we kind of move on and we forget that there's all those gems lying around in a drawer somewhere, okay? But let's start at the beginning, right? Let's start about why do a seminar? Like, what are you trying to get out of it? And I think this is really important because those of us who love learning, and I'm one of those people that I could easily be addicted to learning. If someone hangs a seminar shingle out, I want to go, I want to learn. But sometimes a seminar isn't appropriate, or sometimes I'm in a state of too much input. So if you are just going from door to door to door, or lecture to lecture to lecture, seminar to seminar, working spot to working spot, and you are collecting information, you could be overwhelming yourself, which is something I have talked about recently, because you could be taking on too much information. And maybe that information is complementary. Maybe some of it conflicts. Certainly, we know that there's so many different philosophies and so many different ways to achieve the same thing, right? I always joke that if you want to learn to do the teeter correctly, you ask 10 people, you'll get 12 responses, right? I mean, there's just so many different ways that it can be done. So when you're choosing a seminar, when you're deciding whether or not to go, really look at the description and think like, is this what I need? Is this the kind of information I'm looking for? Is the person giving the seminar the person I want to learn from? Is the host, whether it's the club, the facility, whatever, is that a place I want to go? Is this going to be friendly? Is this going to be conducive to my dog? Don't just go because it's cool or you want to learn as much as possible. Make sure that it is the right fit. In other words, don't just get excited and go to everything. Just make sure that that's something that you want, need, and will do something with the information. Okay. The second thing I'd say is have some goals. Like if that seminar, if you read that description, you're like, oh my God, this is exactly what we need. I can't wait. I'm going to learn everything. It's going to change my life. Like, here's my money. Please take it. I hope I get in. And that's your enthusiasm level. Then you should be able to look at that description and with all that excitement, be able to really state, like on a piece of paper, state what it is that you want to get out of the seminar. You should know that going in. And sometimes in like a little bit of an icebreaker way or something, the, person giving the seminar might say, hey, what are your goals? Or what are you looking to get out of it? Or when they're doing an introduction, they're telling you what the day is going to be like. Because sometimes it shifts a little bit from what the description was. Either, just because of funky communication between the person giving it and the person writing the description, or because something changed or what have you. So, make sure that everything is in alignment and you have something that you want to get out of the seminar, right? So, and if you have an opportunity to share that, great. So, because it helps, the clinician, if they want to know, like, why are you all here? What are you hoping to get out of it? And are they going to cover that and be able to support your goals? So know what it is that you want before you go in. It should be like any other training opportunity or even trial. What are your process goals? What are your outcome goals? Spend some time thinking through what you want to get out of it. Don't just walk in and be like, hello, I'm here. It's me, my dog, and my treats. Like, we're ready to go, and just be kind of open. Like, open is great, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, but you should also know what it is that you want to get out of it. Otherwise, how do you know that the seminar was a success for you? Okay. Now, for me, I think if I get one aha moment out of the day, the weekend, the half day, whatever, to me, it's like worth it, right? Something wonderful. But sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes you just get a bunch of great information that you can use later. All right. But it helps to have those goals. All right. Ahead of time, of course, prep appropriately. Have the treats, the foods, the snacks, the water, the fan, whatever it is that you need. Really think about it and pack with the same intention as if you were going to a trial or something like that, so that you're like organized and prepared and you understand what the lunch situation is, or if you're gluten-free or, whatever it is, like, be organized as you would be any other trial. Okay. All right. So during, all right, think about how you best learn. So a lot of people now are using video, and most of the, I'm going to say rules, kind of air quotes, but most of the guidelines are, you're able to video your own dog, not others' dogs, and you're not able to video and certainly not able to post anything that the instructor says, just like the lecture piece of it, right? Because that's their intellectual property and that's what you're paying for, and nobody needs that just free on the internet. So that's fine. But video is only great if that's how you learn. So recently I was in a seminar and someone was like, oh, do you want me to video your dog? And I'm like, no, because I'm never going to watch it. Okay. That's not how I learn. All right. How I learn is I drew a little bad sketch of the course and wrote the sequence, right? 1, 2, whatever. And then after I ran it, I made all kinds of notes of like what happened between 1 and 2, what happened between 4 and 5, what I tried here and didn't work, or what I tried and did work, or the fact that we never got to 7 and 8, or whatever the case may be. And then I write all over it. That's my learning style, right? My learning style is the paper and pen thing really helps in, get it ingrained. Pictures, right? I'm much more of a picture person. So as soon as I'm going to look at that picture in my notes and like the arrows and, someone else is going to look at it and be like, what is this, drunken drawing that you've done? And for me, I'm like, oh, well, this is, and I'll be able to tell you all about it. Okay. I did finally I shouldn't say I asked someone to video my dog, but I'm telling you, it was only because I wanted a record of my puppy at that age doing those skills. So I did it more as like a remembrance, like so that like future nostalgia me would like have something to look back on. Because I know that I wasn't going to learn that way. And I know the audio usually, often, not always, is so terrible that I can't hear what the instructor was saying anyway. Right? So it's not like I'd be like, oh yeah, that's when she told me da 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 da. No idea. So think about how you are going to consume the information and how you will set yourself up to consume it after you leave the seminar. Because we're going to get to the after in a little bit, right? Because we don't want to just waste this moment and not do any of the drills or the learning and all of that stuff later. We want to make sure that we put it into action, okay? So think about, what is your learning style? How do you learn best? How do you retain things? Is video your jam? And that's what you want. So you need to make sure that you're bringing a tripod or something like that so that you can video. What is your style? Do you want to even have like a microphone? Do you want to get real fancy and get one of those like, is it the pivos, whatever, that like follow you, like what is your style? And lean into that style, because this is about you getting the most out of it. Okay. When you're done with the sequence, think about taking a few quick notes, right? What are your takeaways? So for me, what I did is every time I was done with a sequence, right? It was done with my turn. I would sit down. And yes, you should be looking and watching other people so you can learn from other people. Don't just like have a little conversation in the corner. But I was also, in addition to watching, I was also like making all my little notes on my course maps, or my personal course maps that I was making myself. But then also at the bottom, I literally had a list that just said takeaways. Right. And it was like, what are like kind of some of the overarching themes, right? So it could be like more connection. She's two-handler focused because I took my puppy, right? And, think about the verbals in this way, and think about, let's see, I can read to you. More commitment needed. That was exclamation points. She's more clingy when she's tired, right? Because I'm learning this dog. So just put some takeaways, put some just random thoughts that don't necessarily have to do with a specific point on the course, but are like some interesting tidbits that you want to remember. Okay. Write down like the sequences, the drills in terms of like ideas. So another thing I did is once we were done with this sequence, I then made another note that said, God, yeah, I need to set up like 1 through 5. Like I can do that in my backyard. My backyard is conducive. I have that equipment. I can set up 1 through 5. But write down some of your ideas and things that you might have as like to what you want to do next. Because if you figure out like in that takeaway or in that like writing down sequences or drills or really recording how you could set that up, that'll start to give you more momentum for making sure that you incorporate these learnings and it doesn't just become this like great memory on a given Friday that like, oh yeah, that was a really great seminar. Well, did you do anything with it? No, it just was a really great seminar. I learned a lot, right? You want to do something with it. Okay. And then the last thing I'll say is you might want to or need to have journal or make a couple notes along the way of like what your emotions are. Like, are you feeling inadequate? Are you feeling comparison? Or are you feeling proud? Are you feeling like, oh my God, my dog's amazing. I'm so happy with her. Or maybe you're just feeling like, yeah, I feel kind of behind, but my God, this dog and I are going to have a great time. Right. And of course, you can tell this was a young dog seminar. So it's all hopes and dreams and, unicorns and rainbows and all that kind of stuff that's going to happen. But I really had fun with her and was like, that was one of my takeaways is like, oh my God, she was so fun. She was eager to learn. She was really wild in the first run. And by the third one, she was kind of getting tired. Okay. So good to know, like, maybe a half day seminar for a while is her jam, because a whole day seminar, she would be like a puddle in the crate, right? She would just be out. So write down some of the emotions that you're feeling and promise yourself that you'll unpack those later. And you've heard me talk about this before when we've talked about our runs. And I think it's really important to promise ourselves and keep the promise of, quote, unpacking, what occurred at a later time. So that A, your brain doesn't have to keep spinning on it, because your brain's like, oh my God, you're going to forget this. Don't forget, and it keeps replaying it. But B, you can actually sit down and later and think like, okay, I was feeling the little bit of a pressure of comparison, during that. Why is that? Why was that? How can I alleviate that? Or where was that coming from? Or do I need to address that? Okay. So those are some of the things to do like before and during. And in a minute, we're going to get a few more tips and what to do after. Hey everyone, I'm so excited to share that we have our first sponsor on the podcast, St. Rocco. You might already know them for their amazing all-natural jerky-style treats, but did you know they also make entrees and food toppers with the same top-notch ingredients? It's true. I've got to be honest, I'm a huge fan of these treats. I use them all the time, whether I'm training, at trials, or even when it's just nail trimming time. My dogs love them, and it feels good to support a small business that genuinely cares about our dogs. And there's something special just for you. St. Rocco is giving Q listeners 20% off. Just use the code JB20 at checkout when you order from St. Rocco's Treats.shop. That's SAINTROCCOS Treats.shop, code JB20. I will also put a link in the show notes. Okay, so during, a few more things for during. First of all, don't argue. Don't argue with the instructor. Don't try to defend yourself. Don't try to defend your dog. You are going to a seminar to have like another set of eyes on you, your dog, you as a team. And maybe they'll say something the same, but like in a little different way that clicks, right? Or maybe you'll just get a new aha moment or, something. If you are going to a seminar looking for validation, and that's kind of your goal, you want someone else, this new third-party person, to say you're amazing, I would say that you're going for the wrong reasons, okay? That's not a reason to go to a seminar. So you don't need to feel like you need to defend your dog or defend your training. If the sequence that is presented shows a hole in your training, say, thank you for showing me that hole in my training. I mean, maybe you don't have to say those words, but like, you don't have to be like, yes, but we've trained it. Or, my dog really doesn't like the color purple and that bar is purple. And you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. They are not there to judge your dog. They're there to help you, and they're there to teach you new skills or to shine a light on different skills that you may need or may have or may not have. And those things are going to show up, right? So, when I went to the seminar recently, I was in part surprised that my dog was able to do a couple things. And then in part, I was embarrassed that my dog couldn't do some other things. But I didn't try to defend her lack of ability in that area. I just went back to my little chair, wrote some notes, and was like, okay, here's a hole we need to work on, or here's something I thought we had, but maybe we didn't. Or, she's a lot more handler focused than I really thought she was, or what have you. So don't waste your turn defending your dog. Just think about what their person is saying and be like, okay, let me try that. Which leads me to my next thing. Try what they're telling you to try. Okay. You're going to this person seemingly because you respect them. You want their insights. You want their instruction. So then be willing to try. Show up with curiosity and openness and just to kind of like be game. Right? Like, I'm game to try this. You want me to do it upside down, holding my breath, running backwards? Like, okay, never heard of that, version before, but I'll try it. And just see what you learn. So often I watch people in a seminar situation, and I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to, in 30 seconds or less, give this instructor all of the background of their dogs, right? The last 2 years of the dog's life, right? And they're like, well, but in class, and it's almost like they feel like they need to defend the dog or defend the training. And it's not necessary, because then in the same breath, they're like, oh no, I've tried that before. That won't work. Have you ever been in a seminar and you hear someone saying like, no, that won't work? Well, maybe it will, or maybe you try it and you show that it doesn't work, but that actually is informative for the instructor, and then they are able to help you more. There's a thought too. So if you were showing up to a seminar, like really commit, and maybe that needs to be one of your personal goals, right? Maybe you know that you're that person who gets a little defensive or feels a little vulnerable, or, maybe goes as far to feel like attacked by, someone who's giving you this outside information with zero background on your dog. And maybe that makes you feel all the things. Then make it one of your goals to be open and curious, and really just try to do everything that they ask you to do, right? Just try, right? No need to be defensive. No need to over explain. Certainly no need to argue. Just try to be open and really take it in, because you paid for a new perspective. So get the new perspective, right? Take it all in. Okay. After the seminar, of course, immediately after, thank everybody. Help, tear down if you're able, or if it's the end of the day, or, you have the time and you don't need to, jump in the car to beat traffic or something. Be a good guest, basically, right? Be kind, as well as everybody that, this is a volunteer-led kind of sport. All of these things get, put on with the help of a lot of people who are, volunteering or maybe auditing so that they can be there or something like that. So help out, say thank you to everybody, say, at least give it a wave, or send an email after the fact if you can't, thank them in person. Okay. Be that girl, be that person. Okay. All right. Then I really want you to think about how you are going to incorporate what you learned. All right. I prefer, and I challenge you to all try to incorporate at least one thing within 3 days of the seminar. Because I feel like if you can go back to your notes and actually grab a stick of cheese and your notes and go into the backyard or into your training place, wherever you train, and do at least one thing, you will get a little momentum that will want to make you go back to those notes and try another thing. One of the things I like to do is I love to get me some 3x5 cards, and maybe on each 3x5 card, write out a different thing that you want to do. Maybe on one, you're drawing a little tiny sequence, and you want to try this sequence again. Or maybe you're writing, maybe your note of the day is, more commitment, or like mine is, right? And here are a couple things to get that more commitment. So 3x5 cards is great, because then once you have a stack of them, let's say you come out of a half day seminar with anywhere from 6 to 12 little index cards, and you don't know what to train on any given Tuesday. You just rifle through it, grab a card, grab a cheese stick, and out you go. So that can be a really easy way to incorporate some of this training. What that requires, of course, is you to go through your notes again and make some of those cards, or go through your video again and make some of those cards, whatever is your learning style. But you've got to make that list of things that you want to train. In my opinion, if you go to a seminar, you absorb all the things, but you never incorporate any of them, then did you really go to the seminar, right? It's one of those, if a tree falls kinds of situations, right? If you have nothing to show for it, then what was the point? Okay. So you might want to, when you get home, do a review. If you're a note taker, and if you're one of these people like me who gets more out of even recopying notes, that's some of the value of moving things to a 3x5 card, or just, organizing. Maybe you look at your planner and you're like, you know what, on Tuesday, I'm going to do this drill. On Thursday, I'm going to do this drill. And you sort of transfer it so that it's front and center and in front of you, whatever you've got to make sure that you are going to use that information. The other thing is it helps us when we write it down, we start to see patterns, right? We start to see patterns in maybe maybe another seminar you took 6 months ago. Oh, this is interesting. This is a similar concept, but they're saying it slightly differently. Or, I really didn't understand it from that other person 6 months ago, but this person said it a little differently, and I think I get it now. There's all these little aha moments and all of these gems in there. Okay. So make sure that you figure out how to set yourself up from the notes that you take during all the way through the takeaways that you get out of and how you turn them into executable training opportunities when you get home. All right, how you are going to assimilate that information and really make it stick, and really give something a try. Maybe you tried something in the seminar and you couldn't do it, didn't do it well, and you want to keep trying it, or you want to keep trying a different way that they suggested or something like that, right? Give it a go. Okay. So to conclude, I think that when we go to seminars, the hardest part of the mindset is the comparison, okay? Or the feeling judged, because it is such an intimate place, and you might be there with people or you might be there with strangers, and regardless, the instructor is giving feedback, and and it might feel like strong, or it might feel very public. So if you're someone who feels very vulnerable in those situations, know that going in, that just kind of prepare yourself, right? Also, just be very aware of how you are in those environments when it comes to comparison. Are you someone who compares yourself to others, right? The first dog, for instance, that ran in my group was like fire. This dog was perfect. It didn't make any mistakes. And here I am, I'm looking at that, and I'm like, oh, we don't have that skill. Now, I could have melted, and I could have thought like, oh, we don't have that skill. I'm in big trouble. But instead I was like, well, we're not where that dog is, so we're just going to see what we do. And we ended up, imagine, having a great day. My dog was able to do, like I said, a few more things than I thought, a few less things. There are a few holes to work on. And nowhere near was my dog as prepared as some of the other dogs. Better than some, worse than some, whatever. That's the nature of a seminar. So make sure that you know yourself. And when you walk into that seminar, you are walking in very kind of truthful and honest with yourself. Again, if you are subject to comparison, if that really hits you hard, if you feel really vulnerable when people are giving feedback, or whatever it is, know that about yourself so that you can prepare and you can still get the most out of a seminar. Okay. Because I think seminars are amazing. I would go to one every week if I could. I just love it. I love the new information. I love, trying to keep up with all the different philosophies and training strategies that always are coming out, that different people have. And it's just great. So, my homework for you though is to find that notebook. Find that notebook of seminars. Go back in some videos. You probably have a seminar that was really great that you really didn't do much with, and go back and do something with it, right? Go back and find one exercise. And if you're an instructor, go back and set something up for your students, right? Go back and really use that information and, bring it forward into your own training, bring it forward to help someone else. Just don't waste all of that great content. Okay. So go dig out those notebooks, go make some 3x5 cards, or make some new notes, or transfer it to your planner and make a training plan for the week ahead, and really do something with that fabulous content. Okay? And no matter what you're doing this week, I hope you have a fantastic week with your dogs. Thanks so much for listening to the Mindset Coaching for Handlers podcast with me, Julie Bacon. I am so grateful for your precious time. Check out my Dogged Planner workbook and journal available on Amazon. Just search for Dogged Planner. I also offer monthly membership that's perfect for ongoing support of your awesome goals. Check out theqcoach.com for details, or just stop by and check out all the ways you can work on your mindset. And be sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at theqcoach, and let me know how it's going. Finally, please share, subscribe, and leave a review. This helps us podcasters tremendously. Plus, I know I get my best podcast recommendations from friends. Thanks, and have a great week with your dogs.